We're live. Hi, good morning, friends, and Happy New Year. So, as you know, I wholeheartedly believe that the next Black migration is underway. And I also believe that there needs to be some money shifts happening, money mindset shifts, you know what I'm saying, happening so that we can successfully migrate to our new lives. For some of us, the Black migration is actually picking up and leaving our homes for a new country. For some of us, that migration is leaving jobs or leaving the way that we at least think about jobs. So that is the umbrella, the basket for today's conversation. Welcome. My name is Stephanie Perry. If you're interested in sabbaticals, career breaks, moving abroad, bopping around the world, go ahead and hit subscribe. And then I'm going to introduce you to my wonderful repeat guests who, if you're not new here, they're not new to you. They're the women I bring on when I'm like, I have an agenda. They're the women I bring on to help you get the money you need to live out the life that you want to live. So hello, special guest. Hey, Dr. Roche.
Hello. Thank you so much. Happy New Year, Stephanie.
Happy New Year. We did it. We made
Yes,
it.
we made it.
Go ahead and introduce yourself, Roche.
Okay, definitely. So I'm Dr. Roche Brown. I am also known as the Doctor of Rethinking because I help people to remix their thinking so they can make money, they can manage their money, and they can multiply their money. I am actually a financial psychologist, so I work with money mindset as well as give you practical tools in order to move forward.
Yes. Welcome. Where are you? Where do you, and tell us where you live.
I live in the Bay Area, so I'm living San Leandro. If you guys know about the Bay Area, then I live in San Leandro, near Oakland, San Francisco.
Okay. Hello in the Bay.
Yes.
Hey, Dr. Kimani.
Happy New Year, everyone. So happy to be here. I'm Dr. Kimani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. You may see me on YouTube, Lifting Us Through Climb Consulting, where I talk about Black women in toxic jobs, Black women leaving toxic jobs, helping them create exit plans to leave toxic jobs to replace their income and their benefits. So I'm a toxic job survivor, but I love to say I'm a toxic job liberator for Black women. I'm also the co-founder with Marissa Price of the Job Liberation Virtual Summit. So the Job Liberation Virtual Summit 2026 is coming up. Okay. So I'm excited to share that as well.
Welcome.
So thank you for letting us be here today.
Thank you. And where are you in the world?
I'm in Los Angeles. I'm originally from Chicago.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. This time of year, much better choice. Okay.
Yes.
Good morning, everyone in the chat. Hey, B. Quell. Hey, Carol King. Good morning, Bird of Paradise. Good morning, Dr. Rel's Healing Garden Journey. Hi, everybody. Make sure that you're saying hi in the chat if you're here live. And if you're watching the replay, hello, friends in the future. Say hi in the comments, okay? That's what we do over here. You have to greet us, okay? And Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year. Okay, so what do y'all think about me saying that there's a Black migration happening? Do you see that, or is that only because I'm in my own little bubble?
I'm in the bubble with you. I feel like I've been seeing it. Most of my clients, there's been a huge, migration, especially towards other countries, particularly for Black women, that I have not seen as much. I'm like, oh my goodness. Every time I'm talking to somebody, they're somewhere else, in a different country or on their way to a different country, or at least have the vision and goal to do so. So I definitely see that there's a shift there. Of course, both Dr. Kamani and I talk about leaving your toxic job. So if we, talk in that area, a lot of women are leaving, toxic jobs, are recognizing that there's something bigger and better out there for you, right? You don't have to stay stuck.
Yes.
In the life that you have right now. Like there is a better quality of life, right? And so I definitely have been seeing a lot of people saying, oh, I can do something different. Like there's a different world out there for me. How do I get there? So I've been seeing that a lot.
Absolutely. And I've seen Black women actually gravitating to you, Stephanie, and looking at options, because I think it's important for us as Black women to recognize that we have options, because when we don't feel like we have options, then we get stuck in that depression loop, that sense of like helplessness and hopelessness. But being able to see, wait a minute, there's another way. And there's other Black women who are doing it a different way. And I can be in community. So when you look at all those different factors, those are protective factors that your community actually provides. So when I think about it, it's like the 3 S's. So we're looking at safety, we're looking at support and we're looking at structure. And your support, your community provides that. And I think that's why Black women gravitate towards that. And we're really looking at other options that we have at this point.
I feel like there's a lot of similarities between this country doesn't serve me anymore and I'm leaving, and this job doesn't serve me anymore.
Exactly.
Right.
And I think that the move away from toxic jobs is just it has been a precursor to the move abroad.
Yes.
I think there's like a timeline where you can see Black women going from, I'm just going to put in more effort and work harder and make this job respect me, to, oh, these jobs ain't loyal, to F these jobs. And then a few steps after that is, oh, actually, this country ain't loyal. Same, right? And this marriage ain't, right. These other things are not serving me either. But I think workplace, the job is a place where we come to these realizations sometimes first, because the job is, I don't want to say harder, like the stress of being in a toxic workplace is there's no winner and loser between the stress of a toxic workplace and the stress of a toxic country, right? They're all bad. It's all bad. But the job, I think, do you think that there's a reason that we see the job problem as a problem first, and why that might be one of the first dominoes to fall?
Yeah, because it's a daily existence. Like it pervades your whole life. You know, even when you're not at work, you're thinking about work. You're thinking about preparing to go to work. You're at work. You're thinking about, oh my God, how am I going to be in front of these people that I want to curse out all day? So it's all consuming. So when you think about that, you're in misery all the time, and so it's a part of your life that consumes you and it fills you with misery. And so what I want to say too is that it's past this job doesn't serve me. I think a lot of Black women have had some come to Jesus moments because they've seen Black women in terms of the extreme of what can happen when you stay at toxic work environments that are harmful. They have seen Black women die at the job. They have seen Black women who have died by suicide. They have seen these things. They have seen Black women have strokes and heart attacks and all these things. They've seen these things and they're saying, no, not me, not me. And they're saying, I am choosing my life, my sanity, my family over this job, because guess what? There's another way for me to make money. I don't have to only make money from that job. And I think that's a generational shift too. I think a different generation was, I have to stay at that one job. That's the only place where I can make money. But other generations are saying, no. There's other ways for us to make money. And let me start exploring it. And I don't want to just jump out and just quit the job and just whatever. I'm going to start exit planning and start preparing for what are the ways that I can start making money. But I think the priorities have shifted for us as Black women in terms of us trying to save this country. We're really trying to save ourselves and say, wait a minute, you know, I'm tired of trying to save everybody else. Nobody's coming to save us. So we have to prioritize saving ourselves. And what does that look like intentionally? And remembering that we have agency, right? Because again, part of the depression can sink in is that when you feel like you have no agency, we do have agency. The thing about it is that we have to utilize that agency. We have to take the steps, and then we have to say, wait a minute, I'm feeling fearful, right? That connection with ourselves, because many times as Black women, we are so busy taking care of everybody else, right? Everybody in our family, everybody in the community, everybody in the church, everybody at the job, that we're so disconnected from ourselves that we're like, oh, I got this. But I think with everything that's happened, 2025, I think a lot of us are saying, wait a minute. Let me reconnect to myself. Let me sit down and rest. And when you're able to sit down and rest, I think about Octavia Rahim. And she talked about that Exodus Summit a few years ago. She said, a lot of Black women say that they cannot meditate or they can't rest. And so number one, when we say that, we need to recognize that's a trauma response. That's right. When we say we can't rest, that's a trauma response.
Right.
The other thing is that society reinforces us not resting. That's a capitalistic response, right? They want us to be workhorses. The
Mhm.
other thing is when we give ourselves permission to pause. She said, that's what Octavia Rahim said. The first step is to pause. When we pause, you can't lie to yourself. Your soul cannot lie to yourself. You're sitting there with yourself like, I hate this job.
Yeah.
I don't like how my life is. I've worked this hard to get all these accomplishments, certifications, all these things. Am
Yeah.
I happy?
Mhm.
Am I happy? Was it worth it? And so again, we're prioritizing and we're saying, wait a minute, what is the life that I want? And is my life worth these certain things? And do I feel physical and or psychological safety right now? And if I don't, what do I need to do right now? What changes do I need to make in my life right now?
Mhm.
So if we're talking about some mindset shifts, and
Mhm.
if agency is the thing that if the idea that we are in charge of ourselves, right?
Mhm.
If the
Mhm.
idea that we have agency as
Mhm.
adult women
Mhm.
um, is is a thing that we are exercising now, that we're
Mhm.
using now,
Mhm.
how do we solve the problem of my job is toxic, but my job is where I make the money to live my life? I think
Mhm.
often the agency, sometimes women who exercise agency in all parts of their lives
Mhm.
otherwise
Mhm.
Yeah.
often are afraid or
Mhm.
something to exercise agency over the money.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It's been easier.
Yeah.
Maybe it's been easier to hand the money over to the job and let the job
Mhm.
decide how much money we
Mhm.
make, how much money we have to use. So
Mhm.
then,
Mhm.
Roche, how do we go into exercising agency over our money when it's often the thing that we're not able
Yeah.
to?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the scariest thing when it comes down to like numbers for people anyway, right?
Mhm.
So we don't even
Mhm.
want to look at the numbers at all. And so that's where, that job was able to like, just go there, numb out. At least I got a paycheck, right? It's kind
Mhm.
of what we, like notice in our lives. And so I think that like, in the mindset shift, this still kind of goes back with a little bit of what Dr. Kamani said, is that we still want to take a mindful pause, right? Like, where
Mhm.
are we right now? You know what I mean, in our lives, around money. The first step that I always tell everybody is to know your numbers. It causes anxiety. I know it does. Nobody wants to look at what's going on. I just spoke to a woman not too long ago who told me, I know how to pay my bills, but all that miscellaneous stuff, I just don't ever pay attention to.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what most of us, like everybody's kind of good at, like, I can pay a bill. I got to make sure I got rent, I shelter, I got my car note done. But then it's like all that other stuff gets away from me, right? I don't know what to do with the extra money. And I think like it starts with, and I told her this, and I tell everybody, is that it is important, especially as we're at the beginning, the top of the year, or any time, honestly, that you track your money, like, and see, like, where did my money go? And it's just a mindfulness exercise. It is not a judgment exercise. Please understand. It's not about judging what you did with your money, because that's what people can do. They can go back and be like, I wish I never spent this much money on this, and this. How dare I? We start to judge ourselves and increase more shame. And that's not what it's for. It's just to become more aware, like, what's going on with my money? Where do I place my money? And is that like me dining out a lot of times, right? Is that any kind of vice? Maybe I need to drink every single night. Maybe I need to smoke a little something every night. Whatever your thing is, you want to look and see what's going on. And when you're trying to like shift it, not only are you shifting your mindset, you're shifting certain behaviors that we have to start to identify as well. Even for most people, when they look over their money, they say, like, they try to go to the more abstinent model. And they often will say, I'm not going to spend nothing ever again. Right. Like, and I think that's too extreme, because you're going to relapse. Okay. Like, it's too extreme to go to that level. What you want to do is start to just look over, even audit your week of what you're doing. So like, looking at your week and saying, oh, okay, this week particular, this day is a very stressful day. We all know like certain times of our jobs are very stressful days. And that day I'm going to give myself permission to eat out. I'm not cooking, and that's okay. But I'm going to make a choice to make a permit, to give myself permission for that, versus just willy-nilly just doing whatever it is, that comes to mind. And so you start to like get into that point of like giving yourself permission. You recognize that's the day that I got to go take my kids to basketball practice, football practice, whatever. And you say, okay, I'm giving myself a choice today. But there's these other days that are not as bad. Let me just start with those days.
Okay.
And you
So
say that. Go ahead.
We're tracking our money to look for like patterns.
Yes.
We're tracking our money to see when our spending might be about something other than our actual financial needs. It might be trying to fill another need then.
Right. Yeah. Because you might be feeling like stress on that particular day. And so your money is just being reactive to the stress that you're experiencing. Right. And so that's why you want to pay attention to that. Like, am I feeling stressed? What kind of emotional experience am I having as well?
Okay. But we're very judgmental about the way we spend our money. Mm-hmm. So you said track it without judgment, but like, is that, can we really?
Yeah, it's very possible. Yes, you can track it without judgment.
Okay.
It's a process. So like, when the actual like practical way of like tracking your money, I often tell people choose a month. Right now we're, the previous month, December probably was not the best month, right? You may have made some different decisions than you normally do. Right. Possibly, right? Unless, you stood with everybody. You're like, I'm not spending any money. Maybe you did it, maybe you didn't. I don't know. But you may look at maybe October, right? October could have been a good month. You can just go back to your bank statements and you literally can write it down and say, hey, on day 1, this is what I did. Day 2, this is what I did. And just start to notice what happened during those days. So you kind of just start there. Right. Okay. Understanding like your money in that way. That's what I say, no judgment, just noticing like, okay, I do go to Starbucks every day, or, oh, wow, I eat out like every single day. Like, or maybe I only eat out during the week, during the weekday when I'm at work. I'm noticing that's happening. So you just start to notice those things. That's why I'm saying like in the beginning, it can 1 month, ideally the more months you look at, the better data you have. But 1 month is good enough, right? Just to look back and see what's going on, and just remove the judgment. Now, I say it's a process. It's going to cause anxiety to come, right? And so when that anxiety shows up, that's when you have to decide, okay, what can I do to take care of myself in this moment so I don't just give up on this process? Because that's what most people will do. Just be like, all right, I tried it. I printed out the bank statements. I'm done, right? Like I'm anxious. What you can do is start taking that mindful pause, remind yourself of your goals, right? That you have I want to be different. You know what I mean? I have agency. I can do something different than I've done before in the past. Mm-hmm. This is okay. Let me go ahead and look back over it one more time. If you need extra support, you get, call out for extra support. And it could be even not necessarily like working with a financial psychologist. The support could be something as simple as, let me do some more parallel, process with a friend, right? Like almost like you co-work, why don't you have a friend come in and they're doing the same thing. And you guys are just holding each other accountable to stick with the process as well.
Okay. And so you mentioned that, we don't want to go from 0 to 100. We don't want to go from, maybe my spending is not where I want it to be, to I'm not buying anything and I'm not doing anything.
Yes.
This is the time of year when we start talking about massive overhauls, I think, instead of just an incremental change. The incremental change is the thing that is more sustainable.
Yes.
The massive overhaul is where we end, where I'm speaking from personal experience. Okay. The massive overhaul is where we end up stop and start and stop and start, mm-hmm. instead of just doing something incremental. So once we do our spending, once we track our money, mm-hmm. some women I think are going to come to the conclusion of, I've tracked my money for this month. And what I found is I can't leave this toxic job. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I've tracked my money for this month and I've got to stay in this bad situation because I don't have the money to make a change.
Yeah, which is actually very common, right? So that thought is actually going to possibly come up, for you. But now that you have an understanding of the numbers, now you make a different choice. So now you can say, well, what can I do to make extra income? right? So you start to look at whether it's like certain talents or gifts you have that may potentially mean I'm going to start a business or do something like that to make money. That may be a step. You're not going to leave the job in order to start this business. You're going to be at the job and you may decide to start utilizing some of these gifts to see to test it out, what that might look like. You may then start looking for other types of jobs potentially that can be helpful, right? So that might be another option. You say, okay, I'm going to look for a different job. Can I potentially take a pay cut, right? So as we looking at, whereas we're talking about even the migration, right? So then that's when you start looking at like, well, if I live somewhere else, how can I make my expenses lower, right? And still be able to live, And so you may decide I'm still working. I don't want to have a business or anything. But if I decide to live somewhere else, then I can afford everything, right? If I'm living in California, it may be difficult. But if I, live somewhere else out of the country, this may be a lot easier and a lot less stress in order to, live.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Kimani says, go ahead and tell us what you wrote. Kimani.
Yeah, so I was just saying that your job, so if you're currently working, right, so it's baby steps, right? So if you're currently working, your job can be your first investor in your side hustle. So when you start thinking about, okay, I'm not able to leave right now, but what are the baby steps that I can make towards my exit? So sometimes when you start thinking about, I'm making steps, even though I'm not able to fully leave, that can help alleviate some of the tension, right? So it's not as helpless, hopeless. You're making steps to leave. But in addition to that, you're probably going to need to be doing some things for your own mental health to support you during that process. So therapy, as you're in that process, because as you're in that toxic job, even feeling like, oh my God, I want to get out of here, but I can't afford it right now, you're probably going to need some support. In addition to friends and family, you're probably going to need some support as you're in that space because you're dealing with a lot of toxicity in the workplace. So please think about therapy as you're in that space. But I wanted to see if we could talk about something before tracking your money, because I'm a money avoider, and so, and I'm wondering if a lot of people who are watching this are money avoiders. So before I could track my money, so before I started working with Dr. Roche, I was a money avoider, right? I couldn't even look at my statements. I was a money avoider, right? So I knew that I had to work with her because I knew she would keep me accountable, right? Okay. And so I knew that I had money issues. I knew that I had money trauma. So I said, okay, if I know that money issues, money anxiety, money trauma, money fears was what's keeping me at that toxic job, I know that. I'm clear about that, okay? So if I know that I'm going to need to work with somebody who's going to help me because I can't do it myself, right? And so then that's when I start working with her. And so, I'm wondering if some people might have challenges even taking that first step about monitoring their finances because they might be like me, a money avoider.
Yeah. So we're going to make that step 0 then. Get some support is what we're saying?
Get some support. Right.
So I will avoid anything. Okay. So as an avoidant person, I'll tell you that when my ends weren't meeting with money, I didn't know by how much.
Yes.
I never knew what the actual.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
Where do I actually stand with this? I know I can't pay my full electric bill in December or January, right? My full electric bill. I know I don't have that. My ends aren't meeting, but I never knew what the gap was. Right? Yeah. And as a person now whose needs are met financially, I don't know where's the money going? I'm a money avoider. Okay. I avoid a lot of things in life. So that's what it looks like. Are there other things that it might look like when somebody is avoiding, looking at their money, avoiding like taking stock in things?
Yeah, I mean, people avoid, it's probably like the number one thing that people do. I feel like when it comes down to money, it could be like, just a simple day to day, like you're referencing. It could be even just like the more advanced things, like never looking at what's going on in your retirement. Am I even prepared for the future? Some of those things also like, come up. When I think we are like struggling, most people may not even think about it until they're at the toxic job. Like, I don't like this place anymore. And then that's when you're starting to say, like, I don't even know what's going on with my money, right? It's always just made enough. It's always just worked out. is another thing that kind of happens for people, I feel like. So it definitely is. It's hard, you know, not to avoid. I understand that everybody doesn't have a me to like sit with you through the process, right? And that's why I was saying like even having 2 or 3 other like friends could like help you as well. Because I just don't want everybody to think like you gotta only have me. You know what I mean? I mean, don't get me wrong. I want as many clients as possible at the same time. Like, you know, I want you to be able to see that there's other ways. It doesn't mean that your friends get to know what you're doing, right? Y'all could be all on Zoom or in the same space, but doing the activity together to start to understand what your numbers actually are saying for you.
And I think it's important for us to really think about, yeah, you're only one of you and you are phenomenal, right? But also, and I know we're going to talk about this later, but the financial masterclass is another option where it's not just you, but it's, you know, you can have more of you in a different format. But I see a comment in the chat where it says, why does so much of this conversation about money have to do with living with less? Aren't we reinforcing the idea that we have less value? And that's one portion of what we're talking about. That's not the only thing that we're talking about. We're talking about, yeah, we need to look at our expenses and look about the importance of cutting back, but that's not the only thing that we're talking about. And so I hope that's not the only thing that that you're getting out the conversation, but that's one aspect of it, right? But that's not the totality of what we're talking about.
I would say none of us have mentioned living with less yet. Now, Dr. Roche said make more money, right? Yes. I wholeheartedly believe in making more money. Yes. None of us have mentioned that. I think that is the thing that people hear in money conversations that we're not saying. We're not saying that.
Not at all. I don't believe in that, right? You know what I mean? Like at all, you know, and I think that there is like, you know, money conversations. That's more of the deprivation model is what I call it. When you just deprive yourself, right? I believe in more of a prosperity model, right? So I still think you should understand your numbers first, right? To recognize like how much more money do I need to be making in order to live the lifestyle that I would prefer to live. Yes. You know, so you do need to understand that. So you don't just end up, you know, going into debt and everything like that in order to live in this particular lifestyle. So you still need to understand the numbers.
Yeah. Even the move abroad conversation is not about living with less.
Yeah.
Moving abroad is to live a better life, better, which is more, right? To live a better life, a life where you can afford the luxury that you want. Or the whatever term you use. Yeah, we're not talking about that. I think that when people start talking money, your brain, your trauma, your whatever will take over the conversation. You're not even hearing what we're saying, right? Yeah. When I promise you, you're not looking at 3 Black women who think that the solution is for Black women to just accept less. Okay.
Not at all. I even think like even one of my, so this is actually a client from our financial masterclass. She actually, you know, came in at first, like, I'm going to buy a house, like, you know, in, you know, the States, and then shifted things, right? Had them saved up the money, did the work, and ended up buying a like home in Ghana. And that home is like amazing. Like I saw the pictures. I was like, whoa, like, you know, your house better than mine. You know what I mean? Like, and it was like amazing. And she's not even ready to move there yet. So then now it just becomes a area of like finances, you know, Airbnb. So she's going to be making extra income until she's ready to make that move. I was like, she's living great. Like amazing.
Listen, if she needs a house sitter, you tell her to call me. Okay?
I will. I definitely will. I was like, I'm just amazed. Like it took like a year or whatever from when she did the financial masterclass. But when I saw her in person. I didn't even know she went to the financial masterclass just randomly. And then I seen her in person. She's like, oh, I know you because, you know, part of our financial masterclass, we don't see the people's names and different things. And so she knew me and she told me and had a whole PowerPoint slide and presentation about her new property. I was like, whoa, like incredible.
That's wonderful. Yeah. So I've linked to the financial masterclass in the description of this video already. So Dr. Roche and Dr. Kimani have teamed up to create a financial masterclass for Black women that's happening online January 14th and 15th. 7 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Pacific time. I made a shorter link, vicarious.com/money2026. Inside of this financial masterclass, we're talking about, or I will take credit for stuff that is not my work. Okay. They are helping you do some of the things that we're talking about today, right? Some of the get clear on what you have, get clear on what you need, get clear on what is your job. How is your job contributing to or detracting from the life and the lifestyle and the peace and the mental wellness that you want? And how do you make a plan to change what needs to be changed? This is happening very soon, January 14th and 15th. The link is vicarious.com/money2026. It's in the description already, and I'll drop it in the chat again. We'll talk about it a little bit more. We'll talk about it a lot today. Okay.
Yeah. And you know what? And I want to say that I really appreciate this woman's comment, because I think it really taps into, like you said, Stephanie, our automatic fears, right?
Yeah.
So when money comes up, it brings up a lot of fears for us, and we don't even recognize it, right? So when I first started working with Dr. Roche, on the one level, I recognized my fear, right?
Okay.
But on another level, she asked me point blank, she said, how much money do you need to bring in every month to leave this job? And I said, I don't know. I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? But I assumed that I could not replace my income. I had all these assumptions in my head, right? I couldn't figure out how I was going to replace my income. I assumed it, but I had no idea how much money I need to bring in every month to leave the job, right? But then when I started working with her and I started finding other ways to replace my income, she was actually the one to help me say, wait a minute, you are bringing in enough money to leave this job. And in fact, you're bringing in more money, okay? So it's important for us to look at the mindset and not just the numbers. So I appreciate Sis for making this comment for us to really talk about the mindset, because again, we talk about money, a lot of us jump to this fear response. Well, what are you trying to say? No, that's not what we're trying to say. Be open to receive the information.
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree, because I mean, just with me being a psychologist, I would say I do talk about the money, but I feel like we're talking about so much more other stuff, like,
Yeah.
in the session, it has nothing to do with the actual money situations, right? I think people need the practical skills, but a lot of times it's like our money is really tied so much to our emotional and like mental like experience that's going on for us. I mean,
and our family history.
Our family history, like whatever kind of like money trauma that was like experienced before, like the traumas will come up. A big thing that's recently that came up last year a lot was grief, like people experiencing grief. And when you're in the state of grief, how that actually impacts your money. Like you don't even think of it. I didn't even make the tie until it happened so often last year that, when you're experiencing like levels of loss, you're feeling disconnected from anything that you're doing a lot of time, and so that you're disconnected to how you're spending money or what you're trying to do to cope and to make yourself feel better. Like you're disconnected from everything. And so I think it's important for us to let's deal with the grief instead. And then once we get the grief underway, then we can focus with the money, and that's grief from anything, right? It can be grief from the life that you desired before. It could be also, of course, direct loss of something. It could be a relationship loss, whatever it is, even job loss. People have, talked to me after they've lost their jobs. So let's talk about whatever that grief may be first and work with that. That's going to be the thing that's going to make your money better once we can get a better handle on that.
I watched so many 2025 recaps from Black women on Instagram and Threads, and Black women were, so I knew what was in the news and I knew what was happening in my friend group, right?
Yeah, right.
But Black women were really went through it, right? 2025 was hard on a lot of Black women. And it would be like somebody who on Instagram had been posting such, exciting, wonderful things. And then she'd be like, in 2025, I lost my this. I'm like, girl, and you still showed up?
Right.
First of all, I don't know that. I wish we didn't have to do that. This is just a side comment. But grief, 2025, that's in the Chinese zodiac, it was the year of the snake and it was the year of shedding, or we're still in it, but the year of shedding. And a lot of women lost a lot of things a lot of Black women lost a lot of things in 2025. And I guess we're just expected to pick back up and just keep it moving.
Yeah.
So can we shift a little bit and talk about the Black women who have been forced out of the workplace in 2025? So I saw the 300,000 number that was just a report from July.
Yeah.
Right. The report in July was that 300,000 Black women have been pushed out of the workplace just in the first 7 months of 2025. I know that number is higher by now. Can you, I don't know, is there something we can say to these women? Is this mindset shift and work? Is this also something that they should be doing, even if they were one of the women who was pushed out of the workforce and who is experiencing this shock?
Yes. I mean, I think it's still very important for you to still go through this process, right? Like, even as part of our financial masterclass, we talk about fears, right? Dr. Kamani, deals with more of the psychological aspects of things inside of the class. But I think that we get to talk a lot about like, what is that loss? Like that shock, that devastation that like you initially like experienced, like working through that part first, but it isn't going to be important now that we're here. Right now that we're here, that we do need to understand what are we going to do, for money, right? One of the other areas in the class is that we talk about multiple streams of income, right? How do we tap into things that we already know? All these different skills and gifts that you were given to this job still exist inside of you. Yeah. I think people need to they think that it has to do with the job, but no, it's inside of you. It's still there. You still have all these skills. And so how do we transfer those skills into something different that you can be doing, right? And so we still need to kind of figure those things out for people, right? We need to figure out, you probably left your job and you're like, you don't know what to do with the retirement. Like, do I take all this money? You know what I mean? We don't want you to blow it. We got to figure this a plan, right? On like what you do with your retirement. How do you keep a retirement going? Maybe you were right. I mean, a lot of people, only had about 5-10 years prior to retirement when these things happen. You know what I mean? Like you were right there. So then now, like, how do I make up for some of this, this loss that I'm going to experience of not working right now, right? How do I learn how to rest? As we just talked about rest a long time ago, like even giving yourself some permission that I'm off. There's people who've been working since they were 14 years old. Right. And this is an opportunity, right. To even just learn how to rest and not only just be in the anxiety of everything. Right. So how do we decide to give you some permission for that and also develop a plan on what you can do next? Right. So I think all of that, happens.
A thing that I saw among Black women is that sometimes loss sets you free.
Yes.
Sometimes that loss can set you free to do something else. Sometimes you're not going to you're not going to choose yourself until the other thing excludes itself from the conversation. Until that other thing walks away, you're not going to make the choice for yourself.
Yes.
Can you tell us what as a financial psychologist, can you tell us what your opinion, I know this is a nuanced conversation, but can you tell us basically what your thoughts are in tapping into retirement money before your retirement age? If women have this money in this 401k, this 403b, but she's not retirement age yet, and it's going to face a penalty, but she wants to use it.
So it depends. So I don't want you guys to take whatever I say and just be like, I'm about to do it. So it all depends. But one of the biggest areas for me is you definitely need to have a vision of what you're doing it for, right? I have a goal in mind. So, I mean, if you were, for instance, there's people who starting a business. Now you have a whole business plan and you understand, where money's going to come from. So I'm going to take this hit currently, right? For whatever reason, I'm going to take this hit, but I can foresee in 3 to 6 months, I'm going to be able to start to make money to start adding into this retirement fund again, right? Okay. What I see is an area that is a struggle for most people is that they'll take the money. They have no plan for the money, right? The money is now gone, you know what I mean? And now they have nothing set up for the future, right? And that is what I would want people to avoid, right? Have a plan if you make these decisions, to tap into this particular area. Also, I mean, even to look into, I know loans sound scary, taking on additional debt sounds scary, but if you have a plan, let me say, you must have a plan. it may be important to say like, oh, well, I can take on this loan, right? It could be a business loan or some type of loan. Looking at the interest rates, please look at the interest rates to see if it makes sense to do so. Okay. So we just add that extra area in. But maybe that loan can be what helps you out, right? Like, to me, sustain you instead of you tapping into your retirement. So you want to look at, that's why everything depends. That's why we have to look at all the numbers, start to look at percentages. I know all this stuff is so horrible, right? But if you can look and see, what else, you can do it. Like you can see those differences, then you can say, I feel comfortable tapping in, right? I know what my plan is. I know I'll be able to recover from this, from this hit at this particular time, right? So you just have to pay attention. That's why you have to do that first part of tracking your numbers, knowing where your numbers are. Am I above? Am I below? Like you just need to know it so that can help you make better decisions for the future.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So we're talking about taking agency over our money. Step 0 is get support. I made it step 0 because I had already written down number 1. Okay. Step 0. Start with support. That should be your first step in everything. That should be a default setting, right? Gone are the days when Black women do everything by themselves.
Yes.
Some days are over. We don't do that no more. Okay. Now we get help. When we need help, we get help. Yes. So step 0, get support. For step 1, I wrote down tracking without judgment.
Yes.
Tracking what you're doing with your money today without judgment. So in 1A is while taking a mindful pause, right? Yes. While in a way that you mentioned or that you both talked about to track without judgment is to do it inside of a safe space for yourself, inside of a mindful pause, as Octavia Rahim, our dear friend, says. And then for 2, I wrote down, what can I do for extra income? And 2A, or do I just need a different job? Right? Do I need to add to my income, or in what way can I add to my income?
Mm-hmm.
So Tony Robbins says this, and I'm not saying that Tony Robbins is the best person on earth, but I know he says this, and it's the most succinct way I've heard this put. Happiness is hope plus progress.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that, right? Happiness is hope plus progress. When you have a hope for a better thing and you have progress towards those things, you're happy. You're happier, even in the same situation.
Yes. Yeah.
When you have hope plus progress.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about planning. We're talking about planning, right? We're not telling Black women to just up and jump and do something, right? Black women, we know how to plan. We know how to plan, okay? So we are talking about planning. Don't just hear what we're saying and say, oh, no, they're talking about leave my job right away. That's your fear response. That's your fear response. Listen to what we're talking about. We're talking about planning. Also, we do have an option for Black women who have been laid off and they need immediate support. So we do have an emergency money tips masterclass, which we provided. So we do have a replay available for that. So those are for the Black women who need like an emergency budget ASAP because they've been laid off and they need to know what to do immediately. So Stephanie, we can talk about that, so you can have your link for that as well.
Yep. I'll add that to the replay. And before we're done, I'll add it to the chat, friends. Mm-hmm. Or you can go to, I'll add it. Yes. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah. I was going to add, only because as you mentioned, happiness equals hope plus progress. Yeah. Another area that sometimes people do find out is like not only multiple streams, like have another business or have another job, but it could be staying at the same job, but approaching it differently. So sometimes that is like the issue. Sometimes we don't even realize that we're the toxic ones. Okay. So you can sometimes be at a job and you never give yourself a break, right? You never take your lunches. You never you're doing stuff that's like actually that toxic. You're leaving your phone on. So they now have learned to call you after hours, right? These are things that you can actually put other boundaries in place for yourself to not feel so overwhelmed by this job. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, that they've actually created certain patterns that's made it more difficult at the job. So you want to check to see what are the things that you can also shift as well, to make maybe staying at the job a better, more pleasant place that you can experience more happiness, right? that could be also a thing. So I just wanted, that's like, we could put up 2B something, you know, as another option.
I moved that to its own, that got its own slot. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I add something there? Can I add something there? So, because we're talking about harm reduction here, right? So you may choose to stay at a job a longer period of time, right? Okay. But my thought is, if the job is truly toxic, at some point you do really need to go, right? Because it really is going to harm you, right? Yet, are you doing things in the meantime as you're exit planning? Are you engaging in toxic behaviors too, right? So that toxic job might be teaching you behaviors that you might be reinforcing in your own life, right? So are you checking your emails after hours? Are you taking calls after hours? Are you working on the weekends? Like, are you doing things that's reinforced? Are you working through lunch? Are you not taking your PTO? Are you not taking vacation? Like, those are things that you are doing, okay? But we have to be mindful. Maybe that might help in terms of harm reduction, but ultimately, if your job environment is toxic, you need to be making plans to ultimately get out of there.
Whose album right now is called "Am I the Drama"? Am I the drama?
Wait, is that Cardi? Is that Cardi? I think it's Cardi B. Am I the drama? Cardi.
So just last week, this is interesting because just last week I talked to Danny, who is Danny Went No Contact, who helps Black women with narcissistic maternal abuse, who had narcissistic mothers go no contact. And we talked a little bit about how there's there's like a generation or two of Black women who said, I come from a family of abuse and I'm just going to break the cycle by not having children. But what we learned is that didn't break the cycle, because you end up in relationships with that kind of narcissistic abuse. You end up in jobs with that kind of narcissistic abuse, right? The healing has to happen. Friendships.
Yeah.
Right? The healing really does have to happen. It cannot be I walk away and then things are rosy. The healing does have to happen. And so, number 3, am I the drama? number 3, heal. Healing has to happen, whether you're no matter what, right? So even if you are in some way adding to the toxicity in your current environment, or if you're not, right? The healing has to happen. So we're going to make healing number 3. So our list is no longer in order. It's just a list. Okay.
So that might mean set boundaries for yourself, for other people, therapy, whatever that, rest. What does that look like?
Yeah.
So boundaries. So we know Nedra Tawwab, who is the woman I know who talks boundaries. And she's helped me understand that boundaries are what you do, right? Boundaries aren't about requiring so someone might be thinking, I can't set boundaries. It's my job, right? Like, I can't set boundaries at work because they're in charge. Like, my boss is my boss. The word is the word. You know, the name is the name. But she's helped me and helped us, I think, all of us understand that boundaries are your part in this.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So, like, not taking a lunch, right? Responding to having emails on your phone, not, working over the weekend. Like, those are your personal boundaries, right? Like your work duties, your supervisor telling you what to do. Yeah, you can't do anything about that, right? But what do you choose to do? Because if you don't do that, then you fall into that depression loop, that helplessness. It's a spiral. Yeah. It's like a death spiral. So we can't get caught up in that. We have to recognize, what do I have agency over? And what am I choosing to do? And what I have control over my life, right? Yeah. When you start doing that, start thinking, I have no control over my life. Yeah. This is just terrible. That's not healthy. It's not healthy.
Yeah.
And then you can't make forward movement because you feel like you can't do anything.
That's right. Once you give up your agency, you don't have a job. You have a master.
Yes.
Right? Once you give up your agency, once you decide that there's nothing I can do, then there's nothing you can do. Okay. It really does take a made up mind. It takes a mindset shift that I am in charge of this life. I'm in charge of it. And I have to decide what things don't serve me anymore. Yeah. So thank you, friends, for having for your conversation in the chat, keep asking questions. I have started some questions in the chat that I'd like us to discuss. Let's see. We talked about grief, and LD says, I never connected grief to how I spend money. I definitely lose track according to how I'm impacted by trauma.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes money is like when we see someone kind of spiraling in their life.
Yeah.
By the time we see it, by the time an outward person sees it, like it's the spiral, the grief, the whatever it is has taken them. But sometimes a person can see it in the money before they can see they can see it the way that they're spending their money or not, or they're avoiding their money or not.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes that's one of the first indicators, that in our food, right? Our money and our food are ways that we show what's happening. Our feelings, our money and our food show our feelings. Like,
oh yeah, yeah. They're the main ways that we like kind of cope with things. And so, yeah, you will definitely see yourself. Maybe things are starting like, I'm not paying things on time. How did I miss that? Like even that simple thing is like, oh wait, I'm dissociating. Like I'm not disconnected from like what's going on, you know, in my life right now. And so I think we definitely see it a lot, like, you know, with grief. I mean, a lot of people have mentioned it so much. This was in 2005. I mean, last year, 2025 was like, you know, a huge year of people just referencing like just lost with their money and what was going on with it. So, yeah.
I see a comment here. Let's see. Cape Free Media, I'm in my 50s. It was a revelation that I could expect to be happy with my work. Always felt like some white people stuff.
Just thought it had to be a struggle, just addicted to the struggle. Like, no, like, wait, this can be enjoyable. So,
yeah, it's addicted to, it really is it's fruit of the slavery tree. The idea that you just do the work, right? Even if it's killing you. Yeah. You just eat that terrible sandwich. You're gonna, that's how life is supposed to be. Yeah. Other people get to do work that they enjoy and work that feeds them. We have to do the work that kills us, right? It's just fruit of the slavery tree, and making that, opting out of that.
Yes, please.
It's a domino that will knock down all them other dominoes.
Yes.
So we're all three of us are women who have a business or businesses related to what we do for work, but that we enjoy. I think I'm going to speak for y'all, but tell us can you tell us how your life is different as a business owner doing the work that you enjoy compared to your life as an employee? Yeah. Did I make that question clear?
I live a hybrid life. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I do work like 20 hours at an actual like corporate job, as well as a psychologist. And even there, so, you'd be surprised what you can create, like if you want to. I mean, even my job there, I only work full days on Tuesdays and Thursdays and a half day on Wednesday. Like I'm off at the clock at 1:00. Like that's a great life. Okay. So, nice. So just even that, it's just like, it's great the way that I choose to approach the work. You know what I mean? I know what work needs to be done, but I don't need to work at their pace. I work at mine. Okay. Right. You know what I mean? So I make a choice of like, oh, this is what I'm planning on doing, and how much I'm going to get done, and so I have that at the 9 to 5, but also it helps me structure the rest of my life, where Mondays and Fridays are my days within my business as well, that I, make sure that I do a lot of things. And I even, because even being an entrepreneur could become stressful.
Yeah.
Right. Like it has its different stressors on your life and stuff. But I think, also taking like your breaks, even remembering those things like, oh, I should take a lunch, like though, even while you're like, working and doing everything. I think that also is so important. So like, I enjoy both areas of my life. So I do, I have more of a hybrid experience.
And what did you, before you started working for yourself, did you have a job in your job life? Did you feel like it was feeding you in a good way, or was this a shift that happened after you became self-employed as well?
So it happened when I went to part-time. I probably have only, I don't think I've worked a full-time job, and I don't even remember like when I had a full-time job. So it's been a long, I mean, it's been maybe at least 10, 15 years that I've actually had like a full-time job.
Oh,
And
good.
so I made a choice to say that I don't want to do this full-time. And like, how can I decide to, like, make enough money to be able to live that life?
Mhm.
Right. I don't even the work that I do now. I think if I did it full time, I wouldn't like it as much.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not that the job itself is bad, but doing too much of it still cannot feel comfortable.
That's
Right. And so I made a choice some time ago, not just with this job, but another job too, was like, I don't want to work here all the time. Right. And so I made a choice to say, I'm only going to do, I was working per diem for a little bit until they were like, oh, I can give you 20 hours. I was like, oh, and I get benefits. Let's go, like, and that was fine for me.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
good. I didn't know. I knew that you worked a job.
Yeah.
And I think I knew that it was part-time, but I didn't know it had been a decade or more of you doing that. That's
Yes.
wonderful.
So I've been doing it for so long that I don't even know how I don't even know how the decision even came about. But I was a person who did work too much, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, even just having multiple 1099s and a lot of opportunities and saying yes too much. And so I had a point where I was like, you're doing too much. Like, you can't say yes to everything. Even just looking at my taxes, I just had multiple 1099s, and I was like, that's too much going on here. Like, so I had to say, like, what is going to be more comfortable? And so that's why even having the mindful pause, having reflection of yourself and say, what would be a better quality of life? I like to take naps. And it's just what I like to do. So I like to make sure that I'm able to put them in my life if I can. So, you work it out how it makes sense for you.
Yeah, Rashida's my business partner in Exodus Summit. And we had to reschedule a meeting. And I was like, can we do it at 1? She's like, girl, that's my nap time. Okay. Stop playing with me. Okay. We could do it before or after, but definitely not at 1 o'clock. Thank you. So Kimani, what is different for you about life and am I overstepping by saying you have a business that you feel is in alignment as opposed to a job that's, gonna put you in the ground?
Oh my God, night and day. I'm gonna try to keep this time. I'm gonna try to be conscious time with this, okay? But night and day, okay? And it's so funny because now I do have a W-2 in a sense where I do training, where I get flown out around the country to do trauma training. And so it's so funny. In November, actually, I was booked to do a trauma training at my old job, at the toxic job. And so I actually did a behind the scenes in my car for my members only. So I have a members only on my YouTube channel. And I talked about going back to the toxic job to do a trauma training, right? Full circle moment. Yes. And so to go back into that toxic job, to do a trauma training on my own terms, it was like, wow. It was like, wow. And then I was driving, as I was driving to the old job, I was so sad because I remember the old me. I remember the old me as I was driving there. I remembered how heartbroken I was. I remembered the pep talks I would say to myself driving there. I remembered listening to Jill Scott on my, listening to her as she talked about staring monsters in the face, right? I listened to that as I was preparing to go, right? And I remembered her, right? And as I walked into that building, I was like, I'm walking into the belly of the beast, right? And so I was prayed up. And as I walked in there, I was like, I am walking in here a different woman, right? And I came in there and I was co-facilitating with another psychologist, right? And so I came in there and I showed up, I did my thing, right? And so it was so liberating to be able to come into that space, different capacity, get my coins and leave and know that I don't have to come back to that place. You know what I'm saying? So that was amazing to do that. And also, because I did it 2 days. So it was 1 week, I did it one day, and then I came back the following, right? And each day that I came back in my car, I said out loud, thank you, God, for getting me out of this place. Thank you, God, for getting me out of this place. I mean, it was like, it was no regrets at all. And in a way, I was like appreciative that I was able to go back into that environment to see, do I have any regrets? I already knew I had no regrets, but to actually go back to the job and be like, do we have, girl, no. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, God, for getting me out that place. And I saw some people that I used to work with, not people I had issues with, but people I used to work with. And I saw them and I saw their eyes
Mm-hmm.
and I saw the spirit, like the crushed spirit. And I was like, that could have been me, and I was like, thank you, God, for delivering me. Right. So that's in one way my life is different. Right. So I get flown across the country to do these trainings that I love to do. I love to do. Right. So just to think, when we talk about transferable skills, people at that old job saw me do that type of work. And then when I left the toxic job, I was sought out to do this work. So I never would have known that I could do this stuff unless I left the toxic job, right?
That's right.
So I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting paid very well. I'm being flown all over the country to do something I love to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's one part. The other part is I love to talk about Black women in toxic jobs. I like light up, right? And I am sharing my story all over YouTube. I love to talk about it. I love to offer different resources and services for Black women. I have these ideas, I'm in your YouTube Success Society and, talking about it and sharing things. And I love to be able to show Black women that if I can do it, you can do it.
That's
What
right.
I'm saying? I'm a private person. I never had social media before the pandemic, never, right? And now I'm out here all the time talking about it
Yeah.
because I don't want Black women to feel like you're alone and going through anything you go through, but particularly not a toxic job. And I want Black women to know that there's a way out, that we have options. And I want to help Black women get out of a toxic job because I knew that it almost crushed me. It almost crushed me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm a mental health professional
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and it almost crushed me. And so I don't want that to happen to any other Black woman. And so I love the work I do. I love the work I do. The problem is, Stephanie, is that I love the work I do so much that I started becoming what you told me not to become.
Mhm.
I started becoming my own toxic boss.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was working too much, right? And my friend Colette Elizabeth is here. And she's like, girl, you work too much. You work too much. I'm worried about you, girl. You work too much. You work too much. You're doing 8,000 videos all the time
Yeah.
because I love the work, right? And so I'm downloaded all these videos. I'm like, I want to do this. I want to do that because I'm so excited. And when I hear Black women say things like, I can't leave because, I got bills to pay, or I'm just hanging on by a string, or I just want to wait till my child graduates, or, like when I hear that mentality, I'm like, girl, there's another way. And I want to show you. I want to show you there's another way, right? So then I feel like this pull, but I also have to recognize, as I say to other people, as I say to my therapy clients, my coaching clients, master classes, summits, that I have to make sure I'm okay. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I've had to kind of slow down my pace.
Yeah.
And I'm really working on trying to hire so that I get assistance so I can offload some of the things I'm doing so that I can rest a little bit more, right? Because I'm doing so much, but now I'm tired,
Yeah.
right? And so I want to continue to be able to do this work to the level that I'm doing it because I absolutely love it. I love it. But I don't want to be the only one doing this work. I
Right.
want to support
That's
other Black women doing this work too, because
Mhm.
there's such a huge need. I had no idea. Stephanie, when I was in your YouTube challenge, that there was this huge need. I had no idea how many Black women around the world were suffering. And so I want to find ways to really help Black women, not to just talk about it, but to actually help them liberate. Like you really can. You really can get out that job. You really can find ways to replace your income and your benefits And I really do have resources that can help you for real. Like, I'm not lying to you. Like,
Yeah.
these resources really can help you.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so, again, like, this work lights me up.
Yeah.
And that's why I come on every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Every Sunday, I'm on interviewing another Black woman on my YouTube channel, Lifting Up to Climb Consulting, because again, I want Black women to see it's not just me, but it's all these other Black women who've left a toxic job. It's all these other Black women who've had this experiences and they've pivoted and they have no regrets and they have found a way. And I want you to be able to see yourself in
Yeah.
those Black women. I want to say this in closing,
Okay.
that I think about Iyanla Vanzant, right? And I've been watching, I don't know why I've been watching a whole bunch of Fix My Life. But anyway, so Iyanla Vanzant said recently, she said, I'm not my sister's keeper, I am my sister. And
Yes.
I believe that. I
Yes.
believe that. And that's how I've always functioned. And that's why it hurts me deeply when Black women step on other Black women or stab each other in the back or all skin folk and kinfolk, because I believe I am my sister. And so that's why I do the work that I do.
That's
Yeah.
right. So yes, to I am my sister. I think there are messages out there that other people need, like the message of I am my brother's keeper. Black women need the reverse. I deserve the same care that I give to other people. That's what I
Yeah.
hear when I hear I'm not my sister's keeper. I am my sister. I
Mhm.
deserve the same care that I give
Mhm.
from myself, from everyone else, right? When
Yeah.
we're so used to being better to other people than we are to our own selves.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So my own shift in going from a person with a traditional job to a person who gets to love the work that she does and be financially compensated, because some of us are doing work that we love, but we're not making the money to live our lives, right? Black women, there are a lot of Black women out there who have some sort of thing that she does out in the world that she loves.
Mhm.
Because it's more aligned with what her interests are, more aligned with what the people who she wants to be in service of and in community with. But the missing piece, she's not making the money. Okay. Having a person who has gotten those puzzle pieces to fit together has made me a new person. It's made me a person who, instead of counting down to 65 and retirement, and hoping I can live a whole life starting
Right.
at 65,
Yeah.
it's made me a person who gets to live today, who gets to enjoy every day. That the idea of having work that feeds you, or having doing work that you enjoy, carries over, just like the toxic job carries over into the rest of your life. It carries over into the rest of your life in such a beautiful way. And so I'm so glad that Cape Free Media says at 50, I just realized you can have a job that you don't hate. You can.
Yes.
I'm glad that you realized that, because it will change things. It carries over into all other parts of your life, including how you show up in your relationships and how you show up for your own self. I get to be one of the faces of a whole movement. Right. I get so much credit, which is why I'm so used to taking credit for stuff. I take credit for y'all's right masterclass. I get to be, but it's because I get to be the face of a whole movement.
Yeah.
When I see Black women out living their lives without feeling the need to be somebody's workhorse, I have a part in that, even if that woman don't know my name. Right.
Yeah.
There is a way for work to not fulfill. No, because I don't believe that. You're fulfilled from you. There is a way for work to be in alignment with you and the things that you want from your work, instead of there always having to be a battle between your work and yourself. Who gets to be prioritized? It doesn't have to be that way. I think we're witnesses. And so thank you for that comment. Okay, so and that leads us into Sid Noble's question. Are there tools or aids to help figure out what you can do with your skills? My skills aren't technical. How do we make a pivot if we think that maybe going part-time at our traditional job and doing something for ourselves that we're going to enjoy better and that's going to pay us better is a pathway we want to take. Do you have recommendations, friends, on how someone assesses her skills and finds out what might be the next step?
Yeah, no, Dr. Kamani does that part in the class, like she actually goes over like, how to like understand your skills and, how to possibly monetize them as well. And so that's like, part of the financial master class. I don't know what you want to offer today right now, Dr. Kamani.
No, I agree. Yeah, absolutely. We all have transferable skills. We really do. Yeah.
This is the time when one of the times when getting support and having somebody getting some feedback from some people is helpful, because we take for granted our skills. We take our skills for granted. We don't view them as skills sometimes. We definitely don't view them in the monetary way. We don't view how they can turn into money, even if it's what we do at work. Sometimes women be like, "Oh, I'm a bookkeeper. I'm an accountant." I'm like, "Girl, that's a skill."
Yeah, right, exactly.
You don't need an employer if you don't want an employer. You don't need.
She put auto insurance and healthcare, which are good like fields to like work in, and that you have a knowledge base about those fields that are different than other people. So even that, being able to share your knowledge with other people on how to do, auto insurance or get the right type of, car insurance or healthcare. I mean, one of the biggest areas, even in the financial masterclass, everybody's concerned about their good benefits, right? That's the big thing. Like, I'm lose my job with good benefits. And so then we talk about benefits, right? Like, so healthcare is important, right? Like, what are some other understandings of healthcare? So we go through how to, get other healthcare outside of your 9-to-5, right? It's possible to create your own benefits, right? How to understand life insurance, right? So I'm also licensed life insurance agent. So I'm able to kind of go over and help people understand how like life insurance works. What are the different benefits of life insurance? I know when you asked me about like, tapping into your 401k or not. And there was a lot of comments about that also in the chat, but in that area, like, what do you do? How do you roll it over into something else that, can, help it not be a tax, situation, right? Or, somebody mentioned in the chat, and does depend, is that when you are no longer working at a job, you have lower income coming in. So then that means maybe when you take your 401k that you're not getting taxed as heavy as well. Right. So you just have to know, we like, so we kind of teach all those different areas, even in the master class, so you can understand like, what should I do with this money when I get it, or at least when you retire, so you can roll over and still have those kind of benefits available to you.
So what are the sections or lessons or segments inside of this masterclass? Maybe that's what we should tell you.
Well, and if I miss anything, Dr. Kamani, tab in, but, we start off with fears, right? Like, really like uncovering the fears, that you have about leaving your job, or if you've already like, left your job. Then we like go into your vision, because I think that a lot of people don't recognize that they even have a vision. We don't sit and worry about like, what is the vision? So we think about your like, ideal vision of your life, and what that looks like, the ideal skills that you would need. And so we kind of do the vision. After that, we go through like the know your numbers. So we're going to go through that together, right? Like, and so you'll have me in that process where we actually, go through, understanding your numbers. What do they mean? How to go through that process. So we kind of go through that activity. That's like the first day, because it's 2 days. The second day, we go into the multiple streams of income area, right? So how to like identify those skills and make sure that you have, that you're able to transfer those skills. We also, I go into like just some money education. So like just understanding, how inflation works, taxes, interest rates, some a little bit more technical advanced stuff. So I go through that as well, so people have the understanding. And then we go through the benefit area. And so we go through how to replace like, your health insurance. We go through how to replace life insurance, how to roll over for retirement. So we cover all of those different things. We also, what's also gifted to you as well as part of it is a session with me. So I actually offer like a session, it's like a 30-minute session where we can actually talk about those things. So now that you've already, done some of these skills within the class, now, we can have a session where you can ask me whatever question is coming up for you, to go a little bit deeper in some of the things that we discuss in the class. And we kind of work through that as well. I mean, if you want life insurance, I can help with that part, and actually make sure you have the right life insurance for you and review whatever you have. So I'm able to kind of go through that, or even make those like depends decisions. Like, it depends. Should I take it? Should I not? We can discuss that in your one-on-ones, because some things are just better just one-on-one, for people. So a lot of that has been covered.
And I just wanted to add a few more things. Excellent job, Dr. Roche. And I just wanted to add that it's Zoom webinar format, so it's a privacy consideration, because a lot of people don't want other people to know you're trying to leave your job or whatever, right? So the only people that will be on camera will be me and Dr. Roche, so you don't have to worry about you being on camera, your name being listed. You can change your name, okay? The other thing is that you're in a community with other Black women. So it's like this kind of like an uplifting vibe. Even though we're talking about money, it can feel like stressed out, like, oh my God, we're talking about money. Oh, it is a fun vibe. I'm telling you, Dr. Roche is a gifted person. She is gifted. I'm telling you, I'm a money avoider, and she makes everybody hyped, okay? So we are like singing and dance, all that kind of stuff, okay? So it is not dry, it is not stressful, it is not all those things, okay? But we do hold you accountable, so you will have a financial exit plan by the time you leave the masterclass. I also want to give Stephanie her props though, okay? So Stephanie said that she wants to take credit. You can take credit, Stephanie, you can take credit, because none of this would have been happening if I didn't have a YouTube channel, okay? Yeah. So I was on Instagram doing like a little series on workplace bullying, right? Took your YouTube class. You're like, girl, you need to be on YouTube. Okay. So none of this would have happened. Okay. So this YouTube, me thinking about, well, how can I help other Black women, collaborating with Dr. Roche, who helped me create my financial exit plan so I can leave that raggedy, toxic job. And also thinking about, well, if she helped me, how can I help share her with other Black women? So Stephanie, you do get credit. Okay. I want to give you flowers.
Definitely. Let me add some other areas. So we go through that too. We go through a financial timeline, right? Depending on where you are, if you need to leave immediately, what should you do? If you have a little bit more time, 6 months, a year, there's different plans for that. So we go through that as well. Somebody just mentioned in the chat, will there have access to the masterclass after the session? So we also offer a replay. So if you're not able to come live, then the replay will be available to you as well. And we do a financial, we have like a little workbook that goes along with the masterclass too.
Good. One more question from Maria. Sorry, go ahead, Kimani.
Roche, can you mention about some of the testimonials of what people have said to you? And also you've mentioned that, like, as you've gone out in the community, people that you didn't even know have been like, oh, I know you. Like, can you just share what people have said about the financial masterclass?
Yeah, like, so I mentioned, I went out and, somebody recognized me, from the financial master class, which was so amazing. I was like, I felt celebrity, like, she was a part of it and actually did so well. So, she was a person who purchased a property in Ghana, like 3 floor. I mean, I'm telling you, amazing, great views and everything. Also had someone who they weren't leaving their job at that time. Right. But what ended up happening is that they end up losing their job within the 2025, because, things happened at that time. But she got a severance package. And so she was like, what do I do? Right. But she was able to like utilize the skills that we had in the financial masterclass to be able to like, guide her to like leaving her job, which was, amazing. Like, she was already leaving. They already laid her off, but she knew what to do, with that situation. It was even, just another person, like I mentioned this earlier today, that just was like, I haven't done, everything yet, but I feel better at my job just because I'm like approaching the job differently, so even that, like, developing a different mindset just because, you were part of the master class also can help you as well. Right. And because you have the replay forever, it's like you still get to use the skills whenever you need the skills, right? And I'm still available for people to like do consultations at any time. So people, still check in with me, even if it's been like months or so after the financial masterclass, to say like, hey, is there something else that I should be doing that I'm not aware of? Or, they can always, purchase an opportunity to work with me, one-on-one as well.
Okay.
Two more
Good.
quick questions, Dr. Roche. Didn't you mention though that there was somebody who came to the financial class twice?
Yes. Yeah. They came to the financial masterclass twice. I mean, even they start sharing it with their friends. I mean, it's been some amazing stuff that just like keeps on like coming up. I mean, and then even people moving abroad, became a big deal. I mean, a couple of people also, someone moved to Thailand, and I was like, what? Like, I was like, I didn't even know you could be there. Like, all this like great stuff, and so like that's also happened as well for people.
And in what ways can this masterclass be helpful for people who've lost their jobs already?
Yeah. So if you already lost, right? Like a lot of us never did the reflection that was needed.
Yeah.
Around like, understanding what we should be doing right now, and so even if you are in like a cycle of debt, because that also often can happen when you're in that area, we talk about that too, like how to like address like the debt and work through that. And then also how do we move forward better, it's like with the right type of skills at this point. So we cover both areas in the class.
Maria's asking, will you address fears of retired women who don't know what's going on with their retirement money?
Yes. So that's the same thing. So we talk about retirement, right? So even knowing like how much you would need and, what can we do to kind of recover, some of that retirement money as well, to get better.
So inside of the masterclass, Dr. Rashay told us, Maria, that there's a section where y'all are going to sit down and do your numbers together.
Yeah.
Right? And you're going to work on. So even if retirement is enough, right? Even if your retirement money means you don't need to work on more income, right? That session alone, that plus some information about your benefits, some of that will be super helpful for you. And then the session, having a session with Dr. Roche, having to be able to have that 30 minutes with Dr. Roche, which I would guess probably costs more than, if they were to book it on their own, cost more than the whole masterclass.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. All right. So get in that way as well. Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Yeah. So you're covering a lot in a weekend, but this means that a lot of Black women can move into 2026 feeling that hope plus progress, right?
Yes.
Feeling what we've talked about today is what we think of as happiness, feeling that hope plus progress, taking a weekend in January to get a number, to work through some fear, to come up with a vision, to work on some possible, or to get some ideas for some possible income streams, to get a handle on what your skill set is, to talk about your benefits, to talk about a possible timeline to leave, to get some education on the foundation of like money. How does money work? All of that you'll walk away with hope plus progress so that 2026 can be a different money year for you.
Right.
Whether you're talking about leaving a toxic job, you're talking about leaving a toxic country, you're talking about leaving a relationship, all of these things are the same steps. A lot of this.
Yes.
It's the same stuff. If you don't want to repeat 2025, right? Some of you might want to. Some of you had a great 2025, but most of us, I don't think, based on Instagram, want to repeat it. Right. So this is a way to take a weekend, take a couple of hours for 2 days and move into 2026 with a plan.
Yes.
Yeah. So Nick says, I don't dislike my job, but I would like to make more money and do things that I do enjoy even better. Yeah. That's what we want for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Information sounds extremely useful. Great. Okay, Sid. So the link is here in the description and the link is in the chat, in the description and in the chat. Okay. All right. Yeah. So for review says figuring out healthcare is the most important thing for me. The healthcare will keep you in a bad situation.
Yes, it will.
The fear and the not knowing what to do with healthcare, it'll keep you in a bad job. It'll keep you in a bad marriage, right? It will.
Yeah.
So go ahead and spend the time, spend the hours over the weekend of January 14th and 15th.
Oh, it's during the week. It's during the week, Stephanie.
Oh, good.
It's a Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay.
I'm gonna give you more of your flowers, Stephanie. Because
Okay.
I quote you all the time. Okay.
Yeah.
So one thing that you say is a job is not a good job, it's killing you. And if you're accessing the so-called good benefits because the job is making you sick, but you're saying I can't leave a job because of the good healthcare benefits, it doesn't make sense.
You're a hamster on the wheel.
Yeah.
You're on the hamster wheel. You need to jump off the wheel. Okay.
Yeah.
You need the benefits because the job is killing you.
Right. Let's look at the source of the problem. What is the root of the problem, right? So if you notice that you're going to the doctor a lot, your blood pressure is going up, you're gaining weight, you're having difficulty sleeping, look at the source of the problem, right? So you can keep going to the doctor, your blood pressure medication's going up, you can keep doing these Band-Aid fixes, but you really need to look at the root of the problem. And that's why therapy is very helpful. A good therapist can help you identify the root of the problem. And again, we're not talking about just take the root out immediately. What we're talking about is to help identify the root and then start planning for addressing the root of the problem. So you're not doing Band-Aids. So some of the Band-Aids that we talked about might be money-related issues. You're overeating, right? Door dashing, right? Your retail therapy, buying a whole bunch of new clothes and new shoes because you want to look good and all that kind of stuff.
All up in TJ Maxx and they know your name. They like, how come you weren't here yesterday? What happened?
Right. So are you using money as a way to self-medicate?
Yeah.
Using alcohol? Are you smoking? Are you doing things to self-medicate, but you're not getting at the root of the problem?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Those times are over. There may have been a time when that was the way that we approached things, right? It was never helpful. It was never healthy. But even if you have done those things in the past, it's okay. We're going to change it. We're going to change that now. Those days are over, right? Those days of I'm going to stick it out and, just try to make the best of a bad situation. That expression shouldn't even exist.
But why? And thinking why? Why are you doing that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I could see if there's truly no options. There's truly no options. But why, if there are options? Why are you doing that to yourself? Why are you doing this to yourself? I think like Harriet Tubman. Would she want you to be doing that?
Yes. What would Harriet say?
What would Harriet say? Would she want you to be doing that? No, she would not. No. Have you
seen there's a new thing this year. Instead of like New Year, New Me, people are posting about who their board of directors is going to be in 2026. Like who are they checking? Who are they running their decisions by? So put Harriet Tubman on your board of directors. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And Fannie Lou Hamer, right?
Yes.
So if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, what you going to do?
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yeah, get some people on your board of directors who will give you a little dose of reality, who'll give you a reality check.
Yes.
Okay.
And I want to add a little bonus, right? So if you're thinking about moving abroad, in addition to getting your money together, right? The importance of really getting yourself together mentally, because no matter where you go in the world, wherever you go, you'll be. Okay. So just make sure that you are really committed to your own healing, because what I don't want to happen for you is that you make all this energy, you go to Stephanie's Exodus ASAP with Stephanie Rashida, and you invest all this time and energy, you're going somewhere else in the world, beautiful place, but you're still miserable. Okay. That you really invest in whatever healing that you need for yourself. That's part of the process as well. It's not just the logistics and the practical, that you're also doing things you need to do to take care of yourself and heal yourself. And healing It's an ongoing process because people say to me, "Oh, girl, you healed from that toxic job." I say, "No, I'm not healed. It's an ongoing. I'm healing. I'm in a much better place, but I'm healing. And there might be things in your life that you're healing from, but just really focus on your healing and don't feel like going someplace is going to heal you.
That's right.
It's not going to heal you. You have to be committed to your healing."
That's right. I think most of us have seen that in some part of our life. You think you left a thing behind, and here it is showing itself in another way, the same problem in another way. Right? That's what happens when we don't heal. It just follows us through
Exactly.
shows
And
up
you'll be like, "Dang, what? I'm gonna do all of this. I'm still, yeah."
Yeah. Go ahead and take the steps to heal, right? Instead of taking the steps to run. So I think that's what people mean when they say you can't run away from your problems.
Exactly.
But I believe in a twofold approach. Okay, we're going to run from the problem. We're going to leave the problem. We are going to leave the problem. Okay, but we're going to heal so that we don't repeat the problem. But these things go together. We don't sit in the problem. I think that's what they mean when they say you can't run from your problems. But actually we can, and we do run away from problems. Leave them behind. You're faster. Leave them behind.
Yeah. But take care of yourself too, and take care of your own healing too, right? And surround yourself. Be mindful of your community too, right? Be mindful of who is around you, who's pouring into you. Are they pouring things into you that keeps you stuck? Or are they uplifting you to point to liberation, right? Because there's some people around us who can project things onto us, or people who I call energy vampires. They suck all the energy out of you to the point you can't do anything because they just suck everything out of you. So we have to be very mindful of who's in our circle too, and protect that. They could be in our families too, family, friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. This goes back to the original point of this whole conversation of having agency, right? We're talking about agency over your money. We're talking about agency over your work, the work that you do, and agency over the people in your space.
True.
You have agency in your life. Sometimes we get so used to things that we think that that's the only way it can be. But you're looking at 3 Black women who have decided that we're going to exercise agency in our lives. We're going to leave the situation that doesn't serve us anymore. We're going to make sure that we can wake up every day and be like, I'm so glad to be here.
This is the life I choose, right? This is the life I choose. I'm thinking about India.Arie, right? And that song she had, "I Choose."
Yes.
I choose. This is the life I'm choosing.
That's right. I do want to say, if you don't have community, if you've enjoyed this conversation, and one of the things that you're missing is community, you're invited to the Exodus Summit community, exodussummit.com/community. There is a $1 fee to join. There you go. exodussummit.com/community. If you enjoyed the approach of this conversation, then you'll enjoy being in community with the women of Exodus Summit, who are not women who think Black women deserve less, right? We think Black women deserve more. And for most of the women in our community, that more includes leaving the United States, whether it's short term, like taking sabbaticals out of the country, or moving or bopping around the world and living like a nomad for a period of time. So you'll love the Exodus Summit community if you enjoyed the approach to this conversation, right? The I deserve all good things approach, not the live on less and sacrifice and struggle. Okay. And then so I've linked to the resource. I've linked to the masterclass that Dr. Roche and Dr. Kimani are hosting. And I've linked to Dr. Kimani's YouTube channel. Roche, listen, one more time, friend. Okay, please. Okay. Is it on your 2026 to-do list?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. So I've linked to Dr. Kimani's YouTube channel. Next time they're here, maybe by the next time.
Yes.
Roche's YouTube channel linked as well.
Like popping. Yes. Okay. Yes.
And then inside, once you sign up for the masterclass, you'll also receive, emails and things from them. They'll stay in communication with you as well. So you'll be able to hear and learn more from them and see how to work with them in other ways too.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. How do we do?
We did great. Oh, can I do a shameless plug? If
Sure.
that's okay?
Oh, yes, please. I'm sorry,
Okay.
Kimani. You look so
Okay.
beautiful, Kimani.
Thank you. Shameless plug, shameless plug. Okay. So there's a Black-owned business. So we know with everything going on, blackout and everything like that, we need to be very conscious of where we spend our money. Okay. So I am a brand ambassador for Dianu Clothing, which is a Black woman-owned clothing brand. So this is a Dianu clothing sweater. And so if you want a 15% discount, you go to dianu.com and put lift 15, lift 15 to get a 15% discount. Okay. Again, Black woman owned business, dianu.com, lift 15 for 15% discount. They're beautiful clothing.
Can you spell Dianu?
I'll put it in the chat.
Please. I spelled it my way. But let's make sure we have
I mean, I guess I can at least give you my link to like, if you want to work with me, they can go to like workwithdrroche.com. Like that's okay.
Yes.
And I'll put my oh, you did. You're brilliant.
Did I get it right though? I'm saying I spelled it the way I thought it was spelled.
Yeah.
Okay.
You did it.
Okay. And work with Dr. Roche.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Girl, okay, look, I see this chat. In the chat, you're also a great red for lipstick. Lip Bar, contact me. I wear Boss Lady every week. Boss Lady, Lip Bar, contact me. I wear Boss Lady every week. Okay. So if you want me to rep you,
holla at your girl.
Lip Bar. Holla at your girl. Okay. Lip Bar. Okay.
All these little multiple streams, affiliate links.
Yes, indeed. Yes, the Lip Bar. Holla at your girl, please.
Holla at your girl.
Okay.
Yes.
Her YouTube
Boss
channel.
Lady, I got you every week.
Yes.
Her YouTube channel is linked in the description.
Oh, that's funny.
Yes, indeed. Okay, great. Put that one more time. Paste. Okay, wonderful. So 2026. Okay. We're not doing New Year, New You. Okay, we're doing you with better choices and more community and better informed and better prepared. Right. So this masterclass, the financial masterclass for Black women, is a resource that is there for you because we're also not doing I'll figure it out all by myself. And okay, when we need help, we get help.
Yes.
This is the help that's here for you.
And can I say something too? I think the importance of us, and I think too, Stephanie, like what is so amazing about your channel and your community is that it's a healing space for Black women, but not only that, you and Rashida ushering in this movement of showing Black women there's another way, but also it's representative of what it means for us as Black women to help one another.
Yes.
And my business, Lifting Us We Climb, right? So as we reach out and we lift each other, and oh my God, 2025, like we have to lift each other up.
Yes.
Because these times we're seeing all of us being laid off, and we didn't talk about this, but when we see all these Black women being laid off, that is traumatizing to us, right? So that's that vicarious traumatization when we're seeing Black women laid off, and we're seeing it social media. We're seeing Black women posting about it. More than likely, we know of another Black woman who's been laid off. And
That's
so
right.
then that hurts us because then we feel helpless and hopeless, right? We were helpless and we're like, oh my God, I don't know how to help her. So for me, I was like, okay, I don't know what to do. So then that's when I reached out to Roche, like, yo, we need to do this emergency money tips masterclass, right? So what do we think that we can do as Black women? I'm just saying this to all of us who are watching this right now. What can each of us do to support a Black woman who has been laid off right now? What can each of us do to reach out to our sister? Because that can be terrifying, right? And also, what can we do for ourselves as we are watching this, right? For myself, I have to sometimes limit how much information I'm taking in about it because it hurts me deeply, right? When I'm seeing so many Black women who are being laid off. So I say, okay, I'm hurt deeply. What can I do about the problem? Right. So we have to think about for ourselves, if you're being hurt by it, what can you do to rechannel that energy? And so for us as Black women, we have to take care of ourselves, but we also have to uplift our sisters as well.
Yes. Yeah. I think Black women are the best people. And I think being in community with Black women is the way that is healing. I think that it is healing. If some people don't have good experiences with in the past, but you just need a different group of people.
True,
Right?
true. Yeah.
It's always going to lead back to community and connection. It always, we're humans, we're human beings, we're that is who we are. It's always going to be, we're always going to require community. We're always going to require connection. And I think that being in community with Black women is amazing. It's a thing that YouTube has done for me. It's a thing that being a business owner has done for me. It's given me even more community and connection with Black women. You don't think about those things when you start a business or a YouTube channel or whatever. When you launch out into the world, you don't think of some of those. You think about who are you going to serve, your clientele, but you don't think about the community you're going to receive, and the amazing way that feels, and how different that feels from what you might be used to in the other ways that you make money. But it's I don't know how to tell you it's worth it. I don't know, except to just say it's worth it, right? It's worth it to be a person who decides that you're going to be in community with other Black women. And I don't know. It's worth it. It's worth it.
It's worth it. And we have to recognize that the post-traumatic slave syndrome and the internalized oppression of some Black women who step on other Black women, so all skin folk and kinfolk, we cannot generalize that to all Black women, okay? Those women are struggling. We have to focus on the Black women who do support one another, because that is a tool of oppression to keep us divided, okay? So we cannot do that. We have to focus on the Black women who are supportive. I have met so many brilliant, beautiful, supportive Black women via social media since 2020. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Not that I ever doubted sisterhood, but it is absolutely amazing. And just to see how much power we have as Black women, I want us to continue with this momentum. But I also want to stress right now, we have to be very intentional, not only for our own wellness, but also to support our sisters right now. And right now, it's so crazy right now. We have to really prioritize our wellness and our collective well-being as well.
How powerful we must be. Like that, I watched a little bit of Serafina yesterday, which is something that you should not watch when you don't feel like crying. And he said to the children, how powerful you must be if this is the actions that they're taking to keep you, to silence you.
True.
How powerful you must be. That's how I feel about Black women. How they know something maybe sometimes we don't even know. They know something we don't know. And when we're together, there's nothing that can't be done. And I don't mean that it's our job to do for other people. I mean for ourselves, for you. There's no healing that can't come from community with Black women, right? There's no peace of mind that can't come from community with Black women. And so, I think for anybody who's thinking of what their theme for 2026 might be, maybe something about that.
Right. Community and connection, something.
I say Black women friendships over everything. I don't care. You right. I'm sure you have husbands. I'm sure they're wonderful people, but Black women friendships over everything. Black women friendships are the way. They are the way. It's the way.
Can I read you this quote from Bell Hooks? You just made me think about this quote from Bell Hooks.
Please.
Okay. So she said, sometimes people try to destroy you precisely because they recognize your power, not because they don't see it, but because they see it and they don't want it to exist.
Amen. Because there's no other reason for 300,000+ Black women to be pushed out of the workforce, except that they knew that we could stop the things that they want to do, right? They want to do the bad stuff. There's no other reason.
Yeah.
And so I hope that gives you the know-how, that it won't give you know-how. I hope that gives you some fire to exercise your agency.
Yeah.
Right. I hope that gives you the turns on your agency button or whatever, flips the agency switch for you. They see it. They see something.
And they're terrified.
Absolutely terrified of us. They're absolutely terrified of us. And so use that in some way, if you need to, use that in some way to find your own agency, right? To find your own power. And use that power for you. Right? The energy, that power that you might have externally directed. Get it in here. Okay. Work on it inside here. At least first, if not first and last and always.
Stephanie, don't get mad at me. I got to say one more thing. I can't help myself. Don't get mad at me. I got to say one more thing. Okay. So if we,
I know. Just keep going. Okay.
Okay. Listen. So if we say choose ourselves, I want us to recognize that there might be some backlash with that. Especially within our families or friends or communities, because sometimes, and this is what I've heard from my therapy clients, right? I've heard them say something like, I don't want to be selfish, but, and I'm like, whoa, what do you mean selfish? Like, let's look at the word selfish, right? Because as Black women, what we've been told is if we center ourselves, that's being selfish. And I cannot stand that word selfish, okay? So for us to say, I choose myself, that is not being selfish, right? And we have to really interrogate that and also recognize that when we say we're choosing ourselves, that we're more than likely to encounter some backlash. And even if we encounter backlash, that we still need to choose ourselves.
That's right.
Regardless.
Because girl, they will use you up.
Yeah, if you let them.
They will use you up if you let them. And then move on to the next one. Sheena likes to say, so she's not here, but she likes to say this thing. When a Black woman is like, I can't move abroad because my son, we see this with adult sons, Black women with adult sons, he's not really ready to be out on his own, right? And she'll be like, he'll find a girlfriend, right?
That's true. That's so true. Right?
He will find some other Black woman and she'll take care of him, right? If you don't want to take care of him.
Wow.
It's true.
People will use you up. I read a story not too long, somewhere, I think on Threads just this week, where a coworker died at work. And it seemed to be a manufacturing job, something. Coworker died at work, and they put everybody in the break room for 15 minutes while they moved the body.
Oh my gosh.
And then the manager came in and was like, we made the difficult decision to return to work.
Oh,
and then they just moved the person who was typing the threads was like, they just moved me into his spot. They just moved me over. Now I'm working at the spot where this man stopped.
Oh right? My God.
People will use you up and then just move on to the next. If you don't center you, nobody will. Yeah. And then you're like, we all have an expiration date. One day, our life is over. If you've never lived for you, then you've missed out on some of the best parts of life. We all gonna come to our last day.
Yeah.
And the people who are still here, everybody who's alive and remains, will move on to the next and the next and the next. If you don't ever live for you, if you don't ever choose you, if you don't ever center you, if you don't ever get to know you, what a waste. What a waste. Because there's somebody awesome that you have not taken the time to know or prioritize because Black women are supposed to be the workhorses.
True.
No, we're not. No, we're not. True. That's fruit of the slavery tree. And you can reject. You can reject.
Yes. And I want to quote Erica De Niro TV. I see you in the chat. I love your channel. And she talks about Black women are the maid, the mattress, and the mule.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. That is that's become so accepted. So back in April, I went to the master class. I was in the coaching program with Rachel Rogers, and I went to the master class, and I rode the New York City subway for the third time in my whole life. Right? And don't you know, every time I got on that train, somebody came and asked me for directions. But I'm a Black woman, and they believe that Black women are here to support and serve. And they have no qualms coming up to a stranger Black woman. One person was you were sitting next to a man she was the Spanish speaking woman. She was sitting next to a Spanish speaking young man. But I guess he was a little scary or whatever. I was not scary. She came to me. I don't know. I'm like, siete, take siete. I don't know what train you're supposed to take, girl. I don't know. It's so ingrained in other people that we even believe it. We even believe that it's our role to take care of them, to fix them, to serve them. And you can absolutely reject that and take some time and get to know you. So we've talked about the mindful pause. Maybe in the description, I'll link to Octavia Rahim as well. I don't think she has a YouTube channel. Matter of fact, let me get on her. Roche and Rahim. Let me get on these women. So, but the pause, that is the thing that happens when you take some time and get to know yourself. You can see yourself from your perspective instead of always seeing yourself from someone else's perspective. We spend a lot of time seeing ourselves as the worker, as the parent, as the mother, as the whatever our role is at work, whatever our role is in the family, inside of the church, instead of like, who is Roche?
Who are you? Who are you as a person, right? Outside of your roles, outside of your title, who are you as a person? And my friend again, Colette Elizabeth, she said that she's going to stop moving from, if people ask her, what do you do for a living? Or what do you do? What do you do? She's going to say, I live.
Yes.
I live. I'm not going to start saying, oh, I'm a retired. I live. Like, why are we always talking about a title, a job title? Why do we always define ourselves about a job title?
Yeah.
Who are you as a person?
It's because we define ourselves by our job title because that is fruit of the slavery tree. That is who the United States told us we are. We are just and only, and we should be satisfied with that.
And that's why it's so hard to leave these jobs, especially these so-called high-profile jobs, right? Like, oh, who am I outside of this job? Or I can't leave because the team would fall apart without me, or this job would fall apart. No, that is not true. That is not true.
It's too connected to our identity. But ladies, I have to leave. I just want to make sure you guys.
You're having too good of a time. Okay.
I know. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, I gotta go.
So nice to catch up with you guys again. Keep us posted on future activities, and you'll see some of the women from this community today in the masterclass in the middle of the month. Okay. Thank you kindly for being here and giving to us. And thank you all for being here and being so wonderful. Nice to see you all. Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you, community.
Happy New Year.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
I hope that you see us in the masterclass.
Yeah, in the masterclass. Okay. Bye, friends.
Bye.